For my feminist memoir, I chose Living a Feminist Life by Sarah Ahmed. It was published in 2017 by the Duke University Press. This is a photo of Sarah when she was 22 years old. Sarah Ahmed is a British Australian homosexual woman of color. Her father was a Muslim from Pakistan and her mother was a Christian. She had a career in diversity work at multiple universities in the UK as well as in the US. This is a cover of the book. I chose this book because it provided me with guidance and I related to it a lot. Throughout this presentation, I will elaborate more on that. I admire her work a lot. I believe it serves as a public intellectual piece because it provides key knowledge about feminism and includes the three concepts of nature, books, and action. What do you hear when you hear the word feminism? This is the first line of the memoir. It doesn't have all of the requirements talked about in the video series, but she goes on to explain, and that's when she includes her perspective and the place. The tone in this memoir is inspiring, direct, and educated. Ahmed shows her personality throughout her memoir and her tone by being direct. It was obvious that she was on a mission to achieve or change something through her writing. She emphasizes words and created key concepts. Sarah Ahmed is extremely educated, and this is reflected in her tone. Sweaty concepts, a concept that comes out of a description of a body that is not at home in the world. These concepts come up due to the fact of injustice or inequality when someone doesn't feel comfortable. Walls, heterogender as a wall. Walls are the things that we have to jump over or break down to do that may not be so hard for someone else to do. Willfulness. The idea of being willful can be seen as stubborn. Fragile. Things, bodies, relationships, things that can be broken or things that can break us. Feminist killjoy. Refusing to stay silent in the face of sexism. Refusing to give up. Feminist snap. The breaking point that can be the start of something when you can't take any more. There are a couple major themes throughout this book. In the first part, Becoming a Feminist, she talks about feminism being sensational, as feminism being a feeling, being directed, willfulness, and feminist subjectivity. This is one of my favorite parts. It relates to me because it reminds me of my little sister because she's so willful. Part 2, diversity work, institutional diversity work. This is about all of her work in different universities. Being in question, life as a question. She reflects on how she's a person of color and how she's always in question because of it. Brick walls, walls of silence, walls of indifference. Part 3, living the consequences. You have intersectional fragility is a major theme, the feminist snap, and lesbian feminism. This piece covers a lot of material, so I went through and summarized a few of, I think, the most important standpoints. The experience of sexism is influenced by the intersectionality of identities such as race and sexual orientation. Writing a diversity statement is not the solution to the problem. It is not enough to claim an institution as diverse. Institutions don't become diverse based on their demographics, but based upon their response and celebration of diverse identities. Being a killjoy is what feminists are called to do. Racism, sexism, heterosexism, ableism are still very much alive in our institutions. Girls must be willing in order to make a change. The most interesting character development in the story was the relationship between Sarah Ahmed and her father. Sarah shows character development through this. She starts by describing her history of being wound up by her father at the dinner table and not being able to say anything. And then she describes the violence against her whenever she snapped and she spoke out against her father. And then next, she explained her solution to this by saying how she would just scream every time he would come to hit her to let his violence be audible and to be known. And then finally, she speaks about how their relationship is now and how she has cut him out of her life. But she says he disowns her and says that he would probably say that it was her own decision of making the choice of being a lesbian, and that's why she is disowned from her family. Intersectional feminism. This is what intersectionality can mean in practice. Being stopped because of how you can be seen in relation to some categories. Not white, Aboriginal, not middle class. Being able to start up because of how you are seen in relation to others. Not Aboriginal, middle class, white. Sarah Ahmed is a female, a person of color, she's a lesbian, she's a feminist. There's so many other things, our intersectional identities. They make us who we are, and she talked about how this is important and how this can be seen in relation to other people's intersectionalities. So, for my other three quotes, I chose, "We become the problem when we describe the problem." This speaks to me because this is how it's always been for me, as if I didn't speak on the problem, it wouldn't still be there, but everyone always describes me as the one making an issue or causing a problem when the problem's already there. The next is, "It is interesting to me on reflection that it can be others who put you into words something you have experienced, a killjoy. So often she borrows her words from others." This speaks to me because I that's what Sarah Ahmed did for me. She put my thoughts into words and my experiences into words, and I had never really felt connected to someone like this that had shared the same experience, but I know a lot of people do, but it's just never vocalized. The last one is, "When you are not supposed to live as you are, where you are, with whom you are with, then survival is a radical action, a refusal to not exist until the very end, a refusal not to exist until you do not exist." And I think this speaks to me because I refuse to stop ever being an activist and being a feminist, and I don't care what anyone has to say, but until the day I die, I will continue to stand up for people who don't have the same rights as me. Here, I provided three different pieces from the book that show her overall writing. She's really descriptive. She describes everything and it makes you feel like you're there. I feel like when she's writing, she provides a sense of relief, um, pity, fear, catharsis. All of that is embodied in her writing along with pathos because she provides emotion through her writing and shows that she's able to be vulnerable and tell her story, and how her stories make an example for the other things that she needs to talk about. To conclude this presentation, I wanted to talk about some of the ways that Sarah Ahmed talks about maybe can be solutions. So, minorities can not only be the ones doing diversity work, we need to raise a new generation to be all willful individuals, and then a crucial need to become feminist killjoy. And we need to be honest with institutions about their bias against minorities and refuse to be silent. Overall, this book is probably one of my favorites. It's probably one of your favorites. But I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.